Good.
Okay. Okay, welcome to our weekly meeting, guys. And I want to start like every time with a bell.
Very good.
You see, I'm learning. It's getting better. Oh, wait a minute. Here we go. So, yes, this night we have Heidi as a guest. It's hard for me when I say Heidi not to say everything other words in German because, you know, Heidi is a typical German name as well. And we are happy to have you here. And the floor is open now for you.
Well, first of all, about how much time do I have, and what kind of format do you want me to talk to you in?
So you can have 45 minutes if you like that, or, you know, until we have only if you like that. So, finally, wait a minute, how you do that, it's totally up to you, how you want to do it. And you say you speak 20 minutes, also fine. You know, it's depend on what you want to say, but we want to give you every time what you need and not under pressure.
Well, thank you. So I'm under the impression that you would like to know a little bit more about our mission at Wheelchairs for Warriors, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so let me introduce myself. My name is Heidi Hansing. I am a rider, like I understand all of you are as well. Yes, and we have incorporated motorcycles and riding very much into the mission here at Wheelchairs for Warriors. I'm a co-founder and I'm currently the director of community outreach for Wheelchairs for Warriors. My co-founder is Crystal Larimore, and she's currently serving as the executive director. So we were established in 2016 as a 501c3 nonprofit. That was a part-time job in and of itself, just jumping through the hoops with the IRS to become a nonprofit. And since then, we have grown exponentially. We are a national organization, and our mission is to design and build custom enhanced mobility solutions for veterans and first responders that have been injured in the line of duty. That is our official mission statement, and that is our only condition, is that they were injured in the line of duty. And we needed to do that because we saw a niche. We saw a need that there were veterans and, well, first responders get it a little bit better than veterans, but primarily we're slipping through the cracks of institutionalized care. And I think you all know what I mean by that. There are people that have some great experiences with institutionalized care. There are others that have mediocre experiences. And then there's some that they just hit a brick wall and they slip through the cracks, and we are there to catch them. We are their safety net. Now, I want to make this a little bit personal for y'all, because I think over the last year and a half that people have been quarantined and then out, and then quarantined and then out, and kind of back and forth. I think people have really become cognizant of how isolation affects your psyche, how it affects your mentality, your output, your productivity, and your outlook on life, right? I think we can all, at times, having been quarantined for various amounts of times, I think we can all understand that when we are immobilized, we become isolated. And isolation tends to manifest in mental illnesses and other dysfunctions, shall we say. Well, if you compound that with veterans who are already struggling with a sense of isolation and with a sense of purposelessness because they have been confined to a wheelchair. These are men and women of action. And in the line of duty, they have sustained an injury. Now, I say in the line of duty because it doesn't necessarily mean combat. We have served veterans that were injured in training. We have served veterans and first responders that were injured on the job in an accident that occurred while they were carrying out their duties. So I want to make that delineation clear, because once they come to us, they are usually at the end of their rope, metaphorically, and sometimes, unfortunately, quite literally. And I say that because as they become more isolated, they become disconnected, not just from their community. And yes, we all know that there's plenty of resources. There's lots of resources in the community, but they become disconnected because they are confined. They are immobilized. And I think a lot of us now can have compassion for that, because we too, over the last year and a half, have experienced at least a couple of weeks of immobilization, and we realize how cut off we really are, especially from our loved ones, families, community events, and what have you. So what Crystal and I learned early on in this journey of building a 501c3 nonprofit is that we thought we were getting into a wheelchair mission, that it was going to be about the nuts and bolts of designing and building and delivering and training a veteran or first responder on their new set of wheels. What we realized was that we were dealing not just with the nuts and bolts of a wheelchair or the mechanics of a wheelchair, if you will, but also marital problems, family dysfunctions, and yes, PTS. So we had to become subject matter experts very quickly. And that kind of expanded our mission, because we realized that there was like a sense of urgency that we thought we were just going to be there as a safety net for the VA. We thought we would serve them. If they slip through the cracks, hey, we'll be there. We'll serve you guys. No questions asked. As long as you were injured in the line of duty, that's all we need to know. We'll verify their service. We'll verify their injury. We will evaluate, assess, and design and build a chair for you, a custom chair for you. Well, this then realizing now that that these guys and gals, when they are isolated, when they are cut off, they succumb. I think we can all have compassion for that now, because we realize that isolation does cause manifestation of other deeper, darker thoughts inside of us, especially when we're cut off from primary relationships. And so I'll give you for instance, we had a young Marine whose father actually reached out to us on his behalf. And when we interviewed him, when we evaluated him for a chair, we have a seating specialist who is an actual wheelchair engineer. This is what he does 24/7. All the time. This is his profession. He is the expert. And when we were in the process of evaluating him, he said, I was probably 24 hours away from taking myself out. He said, I am sick and tired of being a burden for my family. I'm sick and tired of having to ask or wait for other people to do something for me. I'm sick and tired of staying behind when my wife is running around with the children and she has no helping hands to help her. He said, I feel like I'm more of a burden than I am a help. And he goes, I'd already made the decision up here. I just hadn't executed it yet. This is a Marine in his early 30s. And he had neurological damage because of exposure to chemicals when he was in Iraq. So thankfully, the good news is he is still here with us today, and he is our driving inspiration, kind of our heart inspiration for making sure that we attend to these applicants quickly and without delay, because in the last year and a half, we have seen delays develop because medical facilities are lesser staffed. And you might even see that on the civilian side, but in the same way that many medical professionals were they were thinning out their staff a little bit in hospitals, the VA did the same thing. So we had a young man approach us in February of 2020. This is right before we were hearing whispers of COVID-19, but nothing had really kind of burst on the public consciousness yet. And we certainly hadn't had any idea of lockdowns or anything like that. None of those protocols were in place yet. This is February of 2020. And he said, look, he said, I really need some help. I haven't been denied care by the VA, because that is one of our caveats. We're like, let's check with the chain of command, the appropriate chain of the appropriate approach here. And if you have been delayed or denied care by whether it's the VA or workers' comp or what have you, we'll fill in that gap, right? So we have that conversation with them, and he's like, well, he said, I have reached the point where I can no longer walk. He said, I've got an appointment though, my appointment for an evaluation, just to even determine if or what kind of wheelchair I need. He says that has been delayed until April. And Crystal and I were kind of like, okay, well, April's not so bad along in VA timeline, right? That's only a couple of months away from February to April. And he said, no, ma'am. He said, April of 2021. So we were looking at February, March, April. We were looking at 14 months for him to even get evaluated before he could even be told that the VA would give him a chair or would supply a chair. We had a chair. We had him in a ultra feather light titanium chair in his own custom colors within 3 weeks. And he was ecstatic. He just, the change in the demeanor, even in their carriage, their posture, everything changes when they realize that they are now, again, independent to their level of ability, right? Everyone's got different tiers of care. But our goal and our mission is to get them to the highest level of mobility and independence, customized to them, that they can, so that they can rejoin their lives. And our tagline is to roll strong. We want them rolling strong. Like I said, initially before COVID, we had approached various veterans that we had been told needed new chairs, and they all took this approach of, we're okay. We're going to make do with what we've got. The government has issued us this wheelchair. The wheels keep falling off, but we keep fixing it, and we duct tape and bubble gum it back together, just like the military taught us, right? They're not saying this in so many words, but I'm a veteran myself. Crystal served in Baghdad. We know these guys. We know how they talk. And we're like, they're just going to make do with whatever government issue they are given. They will make it work. And they do it without complaining. Another roadblock that we hit early on pre-COVID was that they wanted us to serve someone that they believed needed it more. They were going to be fine. They'll be like, hey, you go out and help. They were almost paying it forward before we had a chance to serve them. So I think that what happened when the transition, this strange 1.5-year bubble that we've all had with COVID, is that as the VA was constricting and contracting their ability to serve because they were understaffed and underfunded, what we saw was that they were led to us, and our side of things on the civic responsibility, private fundraising side exploded. And all of a sudden we had queues of veterans and first responders waiting for wheelchairs. And at the same time, just like everyone else, I'm sure you guys as Rotarians can empathize. We also saw, excuse me, we also saw our fundraising ability constricted. Events were limited. We weren't able to see people in person other than our recipients because we had medical essential worker passes. But our ability to fundraise was constricted as well. Excuse me for just a moment.
I think I was muted. I'm sorry.
No, that I had to mute myself because I did need to clear my throat.
Okay, drink something.
Yes, good idea. Good idea.
Yes,
It wasn't
yes.
sure if I did that on camera or not.
Of course, of course. We do that all the time, so don't worry about that.
All right. Oh, very good.
Mhm.
So that is kind of the long story of how we got from when we started. I have so many amazing stories I could tell you, I could regale you with. I was wondering if you'd like to see our warehouse, and I could give a quick glimpse of our headquarters where all the magic happens.
Okay.
I will turn the camera around.
Yes.
There.
That's a good thing with the electronic already.
Yes, let's see. Well, it's not letting me. Okay, here, we'll do this.
Yes. Okay.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So behind me, all of this right here,
Mm-hmm.
these are wheelchairs that have been donated to us either by private individuals or VFWs and American Legions.
Okay.
We initially, the first few years since our inception, we did not accept donated wheelchairs because our mission was very clear. We were not going to do hand-me-downs. We were going to design custom enhanced mobility chairs from the ground up that were specific to that veteran's injuries, specific to their abilities and their restrictions. So used wheelchairs really did not fit the function for why we even existed in the first place. Again, as we've kind of adapted and adjusted our mission to meet the need, what we found was that we were still approached by a lot of veterans that were injured outside of the line of duty, but were still not rolling strong. And what we decided to do was expand our ability to serve them outside of the main mission, which is those that have been injured in the line of duty. We believe that they deserve top of the line, nothing less than the very best that we can engineer for them because of the sacrifices that they've already made. And so that is of course our main emphasis, our main mission. But we couldn't keep turning people away because they didn't fall within that parameter. And so what we did was we decided to take in these donations, which actually helps people. And they want the chair because they're very lightly used, if at all. And they want it to go to serve a veteran, usually because it's a parent or a loved one that served, that had to use the chair, and maybe they have passed on or they've moved on to something else. So we have found a way to fulfill that need, and that is with these types of chairs here. Now, we only accept these chairs if they are adjustable, and we can then go ahead and outfit them and customize them after we have them in the hands of, this is the desk of our engineer right here, in his very capable expert hands. These right here are all of our parts for assembly. We design the chairs from ground up, and then they are built at the factory and they are shipped to us then. And so that was our warehouse. I wanted to show you a little bit of our home. This is our second home, our home away from home. And then what we do is we visit the veteran at the very beginning of the process for the initial evaluation. And then when the chair is ready for final assembly, it will come to us in several different parts out of our roll-up door back there. Our engineer, then what we will do is we will physically and personally deliver the chair to the veteran or the first responder. It's assembled on the site there, and final assembly, final calibrations, and then our engineer spends hours with them, depending on the complexity of their chair. training them on how to use it and how to get the most out of it. Sometimes if it's an ultralight, featherlight titanium chair, or it's an adaptive sports chair, they've already got full capability and familiarity with using it. But we do also some very, very complex high-tech chairs with smart drives. We have many of our veterans have TBIs, which are traumatic brain injuries. And so their reflexes are slower or non-existent in some cases. And so they have a tendency to hit objects or run into objects because they're of the delay in motor response when they're manipulating the joystick of their chair. And so we will install smart drives so that it's almost like the cameras that go around your car to make sure that you know objects are sensed and it kind of beeps and warns you. Well, our smart drive will slow down or stop the wheelchair before it hits an object. So we've had many veterans that have fallen out of their chairs, been dumped out of their chairs because they're not able to very precisely manipulate the chair. We can also build chairs that are not manipulated manually, but they are driven with what's called sip and puff with air, the breath of your, the air of their breath, or with the movements of their eyes. So all of that requires quite a bit of training on the delivery end. So we're full service. Once they have the chairs, the manufacturer's warranty will cover the maintenance or upkeep of it, but we're always there if they want to upgrade it. We're like, we don't restrict them. We're like, what colors do you want? Do you want a cup holder? Do you want a holster for hunting or a something like a gun rack for taking it out hunting? Because we also do outdoor chairs as well. The one thing that sets us apart from, like, say, the big name, the big splashy suppliers of like the big tracked chairs, although we have done those, is that our chairs are meant to tangibly impact their daily life, their daily living. The big tracked chairs get hauled out of the shed, loaded up onto a trailer, they get taken out to a ranch maybe once a year. I really, personally, I think those chairs should be taken to these veteran retreat camps and left there for everybody to use that needs a wheelchair in the outdoors. Because we find that where our mission lies is with that veteran's daily life and the daily life of their families, because it is oftentimes the spouse that has to handle or manipulate a chair. And if it is too heavy, if it's too clunky, if it's not working properly, and sometimes male or female, the spouse has their own limitations for being able to lift or heave or load a chair. And so we design to those specifications as well.
Wow.
I hope I've been able to explain a little bit of what we do and why they do it.
We have a question. We have a question for you.
Yeah, I would
Do you have any manufacturers relationships?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, we do. They're all American built. So all of our manufacturers are American made. They're built here in the United States. And
what's your number one?
Well, probably Permobil. Oh, but it depends on the type of chair. We have another one that's very, very much a favorite. Remember, these guys and gals are very active, or they had been very active. Many of them attained their injuries because they were in action. Yeah. And one of our favorite chairs is called a Cajun Commando, and manufactured in Louisiana and to our specifications. And this is a chair, we served a Vietnam combat veteran up in Cleveland, just north of Houston. His property had been badly damaged by Hurricane Harvey. He had sustained, right? And yes, and here it was a couple of years after Harvey, and a friend had approached us on his behalf, and he was not able to go outside in his own lawn or his own property in a regular chair. He had a motorized chair
Mhm.
because
Oh,
of the
weather.
terrain.
The flooding, yes, there was a lot of
Yeah.
flooding.
And
Mhm.
he was basically under house arrest. He couldn't leave his own house in the wheels that he had. So we built him a Cajun Commando so that he could get outside and play with his grandkids on his own property. He could cross the yard, and then he was out there just doing little wheelies and the little spin outs and rollouts, and he was just having a grand old time. So we have probably, I should say, our wheelchair engineer, Paul Morgan, has been building wheelchairs for many, many years, and his relationships in the community, in the medical device community, are extremely diverse, and he's maintained them for a very long time. And so we don't have any restrictions. Unlike and this is something that we learned, is the VA has guidelines. They have parameters, they have a box, and every wheelchair that they issue has to fit within these parameters. But our guys don't want those limits, or they might have a lifestyle choice or an activity that requires us to build a chair outside of those parameters. So, and I'm not wanting to down the VA, because I think we all understand the limitations the VA has, and we're there to kind of fill in those gaps. But we are also wanting to work with the VA, because if the VA has to delay or deny someone because of various circumstances, we want to be able to step in and say, we'll do it for you.
Okay.
We'll deliver it.
Is there any, like, in Germany, when you have a product, what have, how you call it, that's approved, I would say, from a TÜV or inspection, or from the government or whatever, and you change anything, you
Right.
need to get again in front of an inspection, and they check that. Do you have that too? When you change something on the wheelchairs, you get in and you optimize them for the, for the veterans or for the first responders. Do you have to go to the approving process also? No. Okay. Mhm.
Everything that we build is going to be warranted and guaranteed by the manufacturer of
Okay.
the main manufacturer with whom we design that chair, so that they will manufacture it to our specifications, and our specifications are individualized to that particular veteran and no one else. So every single chair we build is one-off.
It's unique. Yeah. Okay.
It's unique.
Yeah. Okay. No, I thought about the wheelchairs you have in the warehouse, what comes in as a donation. And when you maybe optimize it,
Yes.
for your veterans, do they have to go to approval again? Or,
They do not. Once we accept them as a recipient, they don't have to get approval from the VA or else, and then we will usually deliver the chair with a limited warranty from the manufacturer.
Okay. Okay, that was my answer, my question. So anybody else have some questions?
Yes, I have a question.
Hi.
I went to your website to make a donation, and after I'd done so, it said that there was a fee, the processing fee of $20. That seems pretty high based on what I've seen on other donation sites. Any comment on that?
Yes, it must have been quite a large amount.
Well, most of when I make a donation, usually the fee is, like a couple of bucks.
Right. I don't know. I will have to look at it. If I could, because all of our donations go through DonorBox, and DonorBox processes the donations and asks if the donor would like to cover the fee, you don't have to cover the fee. But if you would like to, then they put the fee there and you can say, yes, I'll cover it, or no, I won't cover it. It's not mandatory. That's just one of the options that they offer. Where is my, oh,
But even then, I don't know what other venues are available, but that seems like a lot.
so how much was the fee that you were? It was 20.
I'll talk to you privately about that.
Okay. But it was about a $20 processing fee that they were asking you about?
Yeah.
Okay.
Otherwise, you write it in the chat, right, John? You write
Yes.
it in the chat already?
Well, yeah, I already made the donation, but I was kind of taken aback by the fee amount.
No, because you want to talk with her privately. Do you want to do it over the chat? This is what I'm asking. That she looking at the chat?
Yeah, I can do that.
Okay.
Heidi.
Yes.
Well, first of all, full disclosure, Heidi and I are friends. I've known Heidi a number of years. I'm the one who actually asked her to come and speak to us tonight.
Yes.
It's like, wow. And it's really cool. Actually, I would love, there's two things. I'll start with because I know I have no concept of this. What do these chairs run? What are these people who are in need? What are the costs? I mean, I know it's probably going to blow my mind when you tell me.
No, and I'm so glad you asked. In fact, that is our most commonly asked question. And I'm going to give you the short answer first, and then I'll dive into it a little bit more. We fill out an IRS Form 990 every year now for the IRS, and fully transparent. Everything is posted on GuideStar as well. And Charity Navigator hasn't updated us in the last couple of years, but we're in the process of trying to get that updated. In that process, we have to estimate our average, what we average spend on a chair, and it is $12,654 on an average chair. Now the span could start as low as $5,500, but some of the chairs can go up to $25,000 and beyond, although we haven't built one yet past that point. But those, when you start getting into the sip and puff and we have the capability of building all those, we haven't had the need yet. We have built, probably the most complex chair that we built was just a little over $25,000. And that was a complete rehabilitative chair that would stand. The veteran was a young man. He's 33 years old. His name is Joe. And he was shot in the head with a 7.62 round on the right side of his head. So the left, he had what's called hemispheric paralysis. The left side of his body was paralyzed. So right down the middle, the whole left side of his body didn't work. And he was pulling himself around in a chair where he had an armrest and a footrest for the left side, because that was the side that didn't work. The right side had no armrest and had no footrest. And so he was pulling himself. I'll show you my foot. He was pulling himself with his right leg like that, which is the only leg that worked. And he could manipulate the right side wheel, but not the left. And so he had all kinds of strange little hitches and glitches as he would try and get himself around a room. And we thought, well, that was typical government issue. Half of his body works and half of his wheelchair works. So we designed him one. Now he was a Green Beret, by the way. So this was not a paper pusher. He was a Green Beret, and he got shot in the head, like I said. And this chair would elevate him and stand him up and support his torso and hold him firm, because remember, his left side didn't, or his left side didn't work. And so it would hold him up so that he could literally stand up to be eye level with his peers.
Wow.
What we didn't realize at the time was how debilitating it was, how off-putting it was for them to sit down low in a chair, waist level, butt level, if you will, with everybody around him. And this would elevate him. So now he's at home, he can stand, he can reach into cabinets, he can get things for himself. The chair, in addition to that, will also lay him completely flat so that he can then attend to his therapy and his rehab in the same chair. He doesn't even have to. He had previously had sores up and down his spinal column and down his pelvis area in the back, where he was kind of chafing and wearing against the chair that he had. And the chair that he has now is designed to eliminate all of that.
Wow.
So that's
Right.
the long answer. So the span is great, but you now know what our average cost is.
Mhm.
Wow. Yeah, that's once again, had no idea. And actually, Amanda posted in the chat. She asked, "Does that take into consideration the time and effort for your engineers and delivery and etc.?" I mean, so
Yes.
does that?
Yes,
Wow.
it does. That takes into account everything.
Excellent. Wow. That is I knew very little about this, so I'm really glad we had you come speak today. And I'm looking forward, I haven't seen you in a while, so it'll be great to
I
see you.
know. It's
Where you
Here.
guys met?
In our it's a strange little universe we live in as women writers.
Yes.
So you never know. I always tell people, I'm like, you never know who you're going to meet, who you're going to talk to. And for example, I'm going to ask Heidi. So Heidi, tell us about your writing experience. How about that?
okay. And I just saw, I think it was Amanda who asked what I ride. So I'll answer that up front. I ride a rebuilt 17 Harley Davidson Softail. Used to be a Heritage. And the reason I phrase it that way is because I hit a deer in the first year of my baby girl's life. I hit a deer at Sturgis on Nemo Road, and the bike was mangled, except for the motor and the frame. And so it was, because it was still such a new bike, they didn't total it. And that gave me the opportunity to rebuild it. I do a lot of long distance cross country travel. Most of it is solo. The majority of it is solo, but I do ride with several veterans groups. One is called Flags of Honor Escort. We escort flags in a very respectful and honorary fashion from California to Washington, D.C. for final presentation at Washington, D.C. During Memorial Weekend, the weekend right before Memorial Day. I also ride with Run for the Wall, which is a 33-year-old cross-country ride, also from California, from coast to coast, California to Washington, D.C. So I came to riding about, Deb, I was back when I first met you, that in Lace Grace was my first chance to meet you. And that was,
my God. Yes. And consider
so that was 5 years ago.
Yeah, it would be
5.
5 years ago. And considering I just came back from the sister event this
Yes.
weekend,
Yep.
it's been a crazy time. But yeah, we met. It's so interesting how our circles all intersect. And what I love is Heidi will speak the truth. Heidi will tell you exactly what she's thinking. There are some interesting videos with Heidi. One of my favorites was the fountain, and I know you know the one I'm talking about. The disrespectful people in the fountain in
Yes.
DC. And
Yes.
it was what was so interesting to me is when that video went out, and I'll ask Heidi to give the story behind it. People were just posting this thing like crazy. And it's so funny when you're like, I'm watching it because I'm not, half paying attention, right? And all of a sudden I'm like, wait a minute, that's Heidi. Look at her. Oh my God. So tell the story of that adventure, because I believe that was on, I'm trying to remember which trip. I know it was one of the trips and I can't remember now.
That was at the culmination of Run for the Wall. And it was the last year that they had done no, second to last year that they had done Rolling Thunder in Washington, DC.
Yes.
Rolling
Mhm.
Thunder brings in almost 1 million bikes.
Mhm.
More than that in riders, of course. But I think the year that I went, this was the year that I went, it was 960 some thousand bikes,
Wow.
all staged out at the Pentagon parking lot. And then we did a really short ride, but because there were so many bikes, it took all day. Those of us that were at the front of the formation, we were done in like 10 minutes. We were like, well, I guess that was it. That was the whole ride. Everybody comes from across the country. What had happened then was we all go pay our respects at the various memorials and the National Mall. And I was with a sizable group of veterans and that were all close to me in age. So that meant that it was our grandparents' generation that fought World War II, World War I and World War II. So the World War II memorial at the National Mall in Washington, DC is very imposing. And it's very beautiful, excuse me. And in the center of it is what was formerly called a pool of reflection. And it was meant to basically reflect the glory of the monuments around it. And it's a big oval. And I started to record because as you're approaching the memorial, there was signage everywhere that said there is no frolicking in the pool. It's a pool of reflection. People come here to pay their respects. If there's no swimming, there's no wading. Don't take off your stinky shoes and put your stinky feet into the reflecting pool. Now I'm paraphrasing, but that was what the sign looked like it said. And of course it was in English, it was in multiple languages, and it was also in graphic format. So if you couldn't read, you could at least see the pictures and big red circles. Don't do this. So we were really taken aback when we got in there and we saw that people were treating the pool of reflection like a neighborhood splash pad. And there were adults and children alike in the pool. And there was no respect. I know that I would not go to another country to a memorial of people who had given the ultimate sacrifice in honor of that country. I would not go to that country and disrespect the memorial. But that's exactly what was happening in front of our eyes. And of course, we're all bikers, and we all happen to be. What you said. Oh, Siri, I'm not talking to you. Siri thought I was talking.
Good excuse.
Up with an Australian male accent, by the way.
Okay.
Because it makes me smile. But at the end of the day, it was disrespectful, and the veterans that I was with were taken aback. So we went to the National Park Service, monitors and manages all of the memorials down there. And we went and talked to them, and they said, ma'am, we've tried. We can't keep people out of the pool. It's too late. We can't keep them from skateboarding down here either. We've given up. And I said, well, would you mind if I tried? And they were like, oh, ma'am, it's not going to work. I can tell you that after I went back, I took a picture of the sign, and I personally went up to the first few people and I said, excuse me, do you speak English? And if they did, or if they didn't, I said, it's disrespectful to be in the pool of reflection. And here's the sign, and this is what the sign means. And I was not mean, y'all. I don't want you to think I was mean. I was very cognizant. I was in a vest that had Run for the Wall on the back. And it said veteran on it, and it had all my service. It also said mother of an Army officer. I had all of these things on it, so I knew I was representative. And I was cognizant of that, but I also wanted to make a point about our memorial. And there were people in my group that were actually in tears. So it was a very emotional moment, and I just wanted to gather myself, and I wanted to make a point and said, this is not appropriate. Please remove your feet from the pool. And by the time I had done that to 2 or 3 people, other people saw me coming. And there was a mad scramble for everybody to get out of the pool of reflection. Now that happened in 2018.
Mhm.
And I have since been back to the memorial, and they are no longer restricting people from swimming and playing in the water. The signs are gone, and people are taking full advantage of it. So I want to put that out there, that was a caveat that I had learned several years after that initial visit. That video was a Facebook Live video that I was all sweaty and gross and grimy, and I just doing it out of a desire to show the few people who followed me what was going on, and it did end up going to 2 million views.
Wow.
So it did get shared, and it did impact people, and it kind of hit people right here. It was not, people were outraged.
But I
So-
think it's pretty important that somebody stays up, and say, okay, this is not right. Maybe you don't know why. I will explain it to you. But, this is how you're hurting people. And I think latest in this moment, when you not come and say, this is forbidden and this is forbidden and this is forbidden, they make like this, right? But in
Right.
the moment you explain it to them and say, hey, you hurt me right now because you did that.
Mhm.
For all the other veterans, they're sitting there and be very sad because you are not respect them. And I think it's pretty important that the people not let the things happen like what was happened last year, that they stepping up and really telling, hey, this is not correct. This is now how it should be. I think these people are very important. And I think this is a reason why I have some guys over here. They said, you have to be a member of our club. Who's laughing, Rob? Yeah.
That's
Because
me.
he
That's
was-
me. I was, because I'm like, all right, we have to wait. I want to wait to the end of the story. Yeah, what you do need to know, Heidi, is this is a club that's full of veterans. And we have the utmost respect, of course. And so it's great to have to share this story. And I mean, I'm always amazed. I hear, I'll see a post from Heidi. Oh, I'm going here. I'm leaving on my so many week trip, and she takes off and she rides, and it's always awesome. I'm so glad we can see where she's going and what she's doing, and being able to follow what you've done with Wheelchairs for Warriors. And I know it's only going to get bigger, and hopefully we can kind of help with that mission too.
So
Well-
Heidi,
Yes, ma'am.
sorry, I was going to say I'm 30 minutes west of DC. If you are ever in town, you have a place to stay, and it would be really awesome when you join our club to be able to present you with your certificate and your pin and your welcome package in person. So you'll definitely have to give us an application because you're the bomb and you should stay, and B, make sure you let me know next time you're in town.
I appreciate that. I really do. I go to DC every year, and I'm there every year for Memorial Weekend. And I wanted to show you something because wheelchairs, I told you at the very beginning of the presentation how Wheelchairs for Warriors has blended my passion for riding with our mission for serving veterans and first responders. And I wanted to show you this logo
Mhm.
because this is our,
You twin.
yes, ma'am. And it says for Warriors. Oops, nobody was gonna tell me it was upside down.
Nice.
And it says rolling strong at the bottom because that's our tagline for Wheelchairs for Warriors. That's what we want our guys and gals to do. And then on the back, thank you. I'm gonna show you my partner in crime in just a moment. It
Yeah.
says Wheelchairs for Warriors, join the mission. You can find us at wheelchairsforwarriors.org, which is where I'm going to address the issue of the donation with your other member. And forgive me,
John.
I want to jot his name down. Was that John?
Yeah, John.
Okay. And I'll get with him on that. But the whole thing is Wheelchairs for Warriors. As I'm traveling around the country, I will wear this constantly. It is my uniform when I'm riding because, and this is again why I want to approach people. I can have a righteous anger, but I also want to approach people with compassion because I know that I've got this name on my back. But I also want them to know, how they can join the mission. I want people to ask me questions. I love to talk about it. And it has been so great to talk to you as fellow motorcyclists and veterans and civic
Rotarians.
and Rotarians.
Yes.
You guys contribute and you give back and you pay it forward all the time. And so it's really been fun.
And there's something else, what I want to add it, because the thing is, all the Rotarians you see here is over the United States. So I am with Deb sitting in Houston, she's north, I'm south. And then Amanda is sitting in Washington, Scott is sitting in California. So, and a lot of our members are also, it's honorary members. That means they be in our club, they join our club with us, but they have a home club where they can be everywhere. So they are very, very good multiplicators. And this is why I think it's another reason why it's good to join a club like ours, because it's your passion. This is my reason. It's my passion, motorcycle. And you can make something like we do now. Deb and I have a ride next week. No, not this weekend, the weekend after that coming up, where we raise money for polio, to end polio, to eradicate polio actually. So there's only 2 cases left. And what we try to do also is, this is my plan for the next time, but maybe something like yours will be another one, to go for firefighters, because firefighters are also first responder, right? And this is what we want to do a little bit over here, and we will do it also in the other parts of the country. So, and this is always a good multiplicator, for everybody in Rotary, especially in Rotary, because it's business networking, nothing else.
Well, and I do want to, if you ever would like to join our mission with Wheelchairs for Warriors. We have a big focus coming up for Veterans Day. Veterans Day is always a kind of a real appropriate time. Armed Forces Day is another good benchmark. If you ever wanted to work with us on doing something like that for any of the, either an event or virtual or real, it's a great way to kind of get people focused on those issues anyways. We do try and serve in other ways during Memorial Weekend because the focus is different, and we don't focus to be merely on veterans, because Memorial Day is not a celebration. It's a time to honor those that have already passed, that have already given that full measure of devotion. And so we're always like trying to shift the attention back to that. So we really focus more on Veterans Day and Armed Forces Day and other things like that. Although we're ready to go anytime. Now, I really would love to introduce you to someone really quick. Come on. This is my partner in crime. This is the co-founder. I mentioned her to you before. This is Crystal Larimore. She is our executive director, and she is very involved in Rotary.
Yes, I am. Yes, I'm in the Greater Houston area Veterans Rotary.
I know that club.
Yes.
With Bob Gephardt, right?
Yes.
I know.
The president of Wheelchairs for Warriors is also the president of that Rotary.
I know, with the dog, right? With the poodle, no.
Myrna
With the dog.
Myrna Trevino is the president of our board of directors.
Oh, Tim
Okay.
Stroud was the
Yes.
president.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah. and now he is no longer the president. And
It's a new
Myrna-
year, yes.
yeah,
So as you can see, we have a lot of Rotarian connections and our hearts beat the same. So I was really, really honored when you invited me to come speak to you today. Thank you.
Yes, thank you also for having the time and joining us. Thank you very
Yes.
much. Yeah.
Yes.
So every
So-
time again, whenever you want to come in, you have the link. You can, every Wednesday and every fourth Wednesday in the month, we have a happy hour meeting. So
Oh,
yeah. So I
It's
say-
a happier hour.
Yeah, happy.
And by the way, she can join too, so your
Yeah.
co-founder.
we
No, and Heidi, let's put together a ride. Let's
Yes.
put together some ride here in
Yes.
Houston.
This is
and
what I
know-
mean. Yeah.
we
between us, we have a lot of connections.
Deb, we do have a ride coming up, and I think Miranda was going to approach you about that because it is for Veterans Day.
Mhm.
It's Saturday after Veterans Day, so it's November 13th, and I can get you those details offline because she was going to approach you for the Women Riders of Houston.
Mhm.
Oh, we're totally there. Oh no, we're totally there. And my husband is the president of a military service MC, so I'll be getting this out to everybody.
Perfect.
So that'd be awesome. Thank you.
Wonderful.
You
Thank
see,
you so much for doing this.
and the world is so small. Can you see that?
I have Deb's. Deb will email you a
You-
flyer.
You-
But
you- we'll-
you have to share. Yeah, yes. Now, before I go, how do I get a hold of John to talk about that issue?
You can tell it to Linda. She connected you, or you can tell it to Deb or to me. When you go on our website, you will find, a contact information. But
No.
Linda, she contacted you. Linda Ryan.
Yes.
Yes, you can tell it to her, and she will tell it John. So don't worry about that.
We'll get it. Yeah, we'll get you that
Yeah.
information. Don't worry.
Yeah, don't worry.
I just want to make sure I answer his questions and his concerns about that. And that'll give me a chance to get offline and quick go and see what was going on. But I could talk to him and find out, what it was that he saw.
He may also
Yeah,
have some
knowing
ideas
John-
for other. He may also have some ideas for other venues, other platforms you may be able to take
Yeah.
advantage of that
Yeah.
would.
Maybe
And
you
knowing
want to-
John, Heidi, he may very well be contacting you.
That's fine. I'm super easy to find. In fact, my email is heidi@wheelchairsforwarriors.org.
Okay,
I
perfect.
give URL. And if I could just really quick before I go, I would be remiss if I didn't invite you to our social media sites
Mhm,
where you can like and follow.
mhm.
And then you've already got our URL. I've given that to you a few times. And it is so helpful. Word of mouth is everything, especially as you mentioned, Ute, earlier about networking.
Yeah.
Word of mouth is so important. You guys have influence. You have spheres of influence that I will never be able to reach.
Mhm.
And we would be so grateful if you would help us spread the word
Mhm.
of our mission and our efforts and our solutions.
Rotary in Houston, there is a special firefighter project as well. And I think that would be also something for you guys, because they just right now, today, they sent me an email. They have today 5 apartments in Houston for firefighters. They get, sick from cancer, and every 3rd of the firefighters get cancer. So in the Rotary Club in Houston University area, they have this firefighter project. They want to build a firefighter home for firefighters. They get hurt, they have cancer, they get treatment in Houston, so they don't have to be worried about where they stay, where the family can stay with them, and how it costs. And this is why they have right now 5 apartments the Rotary Club is sponsoring, but they also have the connection to the families and everything, so they know exactly who will need something like that. So I will definitely give your information to this club. So yeah,
Okay.
don't worry. Yeah, thank you so much, Heidi, for joining us.
Yes. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye-bye.
So, and before I close, guys, I have a personal thing to say today. My mom passed away 4 days ago, and I have to go to Germany. So I will be here of course, this week and the week. So I will make the polio ride also, at the 25th. And my airplane goes at the 28th, and I will be out of town until the 28th of October. And this is why I would ask, I ask Linda, of course, she will do my help, but I'm asking for leading the meetings for not the next time, because there will be also the governor. I will be here, but then the next, I have to check it out.
Yeah, I've
4
got
or
you
5.
covered. I've got you covered, Uta.
Okay, so maybe we can make it like you make it, or maybe Scott will make one and David will make one too. So maybe we can make it like this. Yeah, David will also. So maybe we can do it like this. So let Linda know what meeting you can lead. And I don't know, I can, jump in, because I don't know what the schedule is doing for me and what the emotions do and things like that.
Yep, we got you. You don't have to,
Don't worry
that's
about this
something
at
you
all.
definitely don't need to worry about.
Okay. And who wants to lead us in the 4-way test tonight?
I got it.
Thank you, Scott.
4-way test. Number 1, is it the
Is it the
truth?
truth?
2, is it
Is
fair
it
to all
concern?
3,
Will it build goodwill
Goodwill and better friendships. 4,
4,
Will it be
be
beneficial
beneficial to all
concerned?
concerned.
and 5, will it be fine?
Yes, thank you, guys. Have a great week. Have a
Thank
good
you very
weekend.
much. Deb,
Bye-bye.
Goodbye.